fans of the Garnet and Gold, it could have been worse. That's the best way we can put what happened tonight in South Bend, Indiana, as Florida State drops to 1-3 on the season after a 42-26 loss to Notre Dame. Welcome to Florida State Seminoles Postgame Live. I am Jason Parker from WTVJ NBC6 in Miami. To this direction, to my right, is Logan Robinson. We're taping this at 12:30 in the morning. I had to think about that for a second. Logan Robinson from Noel Game Day, who's finally sobered up enough to join us here. Logan, you good? You good?
I am fine. We did a post-game show on our side of the things, and the technical difficulties couldn't have gone any worse. So it took me a little bit while, or we would have been earlier on here with Jason. But finally here, we have a live scroller down here below, and I feel like we're getting more official here on the Mark Rogers channel. But no, not drunk, not kind of how I was maybe after the Miami game. Maybe I wish I was, but definitely glad to be on here with you, Jason. And you know what? I got a lot to talk about, so I'm ready to get started.
Yeah, I figured out some pretty ways to do some of the graphics and stuff, so I can teach you and Mark something later on about this one. So let's be honest. You know, we talked about this during the week in our preview edition. You and Mark were about the moral victories, and I was about the it doesn't matter if you win or lose. So I'm going to give you a chance to be positive here. Talk to me about the moral victories for Florida State coming out of a 16-point loss. Let's be honest. They covered the spread. They were a 21-point underdog. They only lost by 16. They won me a little bit of money, so thanks to the Seminoles on that one. But what good can Florida State take out of what took place in South Bend?
Offensively. I mean, that's practically it. We'll talk about the defense, I'm sure, but it's good to talk about the goods that you get from the game. And offensively, you have, and we talked about it before, but no more talk about having to see Purdy. No more talk about having to see anybody behind, blah, 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 blah. Jordan Travis has solidified himself as above and a really good quarterback, in my opinion. Obviously, this is his first game. He's facing the number 5 team in the country in South Bend. This is his first time truly starting as a quarterback, and he had a solid game. And you look at 405 yards. Notre Dame scored 554, which we'll talk about defense in a second. But obviously, Travis threw an interception. But I mean, if you look at it, there was multiple plays where it should have been, if you would have had another quarterback back there, and we probably look at number 1 under Blackman, he would have been sacked, or it would have been turned into an interception. But when you have Jordan Travis out there, he gives you a lot more capabilities of going for that first down. And we saw that he was getting sacked, and he was able to dump it off to Tamarion Terry, who also had a pretty solid game. Shout out to him. But Jordan Travis is your quarterback going forward. There should be no more discussion about it, and it's a good thing because we got to see now you be able to build a scheme around Travis, number 13, and you're about to go into a shootout, most certainly against. I'm over here just burping away, Jason. You're going to go. I'm fine. The burps came out of nowhere, but you're going to go into a shootout next weekend against North Carolina, who doesn't have a great defense, but you're going to have to put points on the board. And there's some optimism, most certainly offensively. I think LaDamian Webb has solidified himself as your true starting running back moving forward. I think Toafili, he's a true freshman. We know it, but he still needs another year under his belt. But LaDamian Webb is hard to tackle, man. And I think there's a lot of optimism, definitely, of course. Tamarion Terry, the offensive play didn't play too piss poor. I think some silly mistakes penalty-wise obviously hurt them. Obviously, Jaden Lars Woodby had a bad penalty defensively, which we'll get into. But there's most certainly, if there was no good offensive play today, this game would have been over. I mean, look at the score, 42-26. For about heading to the fourth quarter or so, even to the later half.
Are you sobered up? Because you're really just going on a natty light.
I'm just saying this. I'm just saying though, Florida State for fourth quarter wise was only 2 possession game going in there, and obviously Travis did the interception, but yeah.
And we're going to talk about this as we go on, but let's go position by position. Obviously, Jordan Travis, like you said, the redshirt sophomore from West Palm Beach, his first start as a Seminole coming up here against Notre Dame. And the commentators from NBC talked about how how the players liked him because they like his leadership. They like what he's doing in the huddle and whatnot. On the field, he went 13 for 24, 204 yards, 1 touchdown pass, one interception, and then running the ball, he was the leading rusher, 96 rushing yards, and 1 touchdown on the ground there. I'm a little concerned that he was the leading rusher. That's my issue as far as that. I like what he did in the air. I think there are a few areas he could improve from this point on, but I don't like the fact that he was our leading rusher. After that, Webb ran 13 carries, 59 yards, and a touchdown. Both Corbett and Toafili combined for 5 rushes, combined 10 yards. What are your thoughts on that as far as the rushing game? That would be my concern on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think Webb was obviously your number one guy running back wise for the game. But I mean, I feel like I've said it at least on our podcast before, but we were about to find out, at least if you're 4 games, 5 games in, you're going to find out who your pure number one guy is, and Webb is that. But, Florida State didn't really find a way offensively running the ball to find success. It was kind of dink and dunks, and that's the case. I mean, it was a little dink and dunks to Damian Webb, and he was able to backspin out of tackles. He's got great balance. But I'm not too worried, I should say. Definitely if you're moving forward, at least going into next week, which we'll preview when we get on here with Mark. But I'm not too worried about at least facing North Carolina next week, in which had a pretty piss-poor performance defensively against Virginia Tech, which was a shootout. And, I mean, not really a shootout, but they obviously let Virginia Tech score some points on them with ease. And I'm looking at it too. LaDamian Webb, 13 carries, 59 yards. But it is kind of is what it is. Like I said, Jordan Travis is another running back. I mean, that's another running back in your backfield. Obviously, he's able to throw the ball. But it's going to be a shootout next weekend. But I'm not too concerned running back wise, unless things change. But I'm not too concerned about it, I will say.
You mentioned that wide receiver. Obviously, what I thought was the big surprise of the game is Tamarian Terry, 8 receptions, 135 yards, the big touchdown pass that actually gave Florida State the lead there in the first quarter. Is this finally, has he finally awakened to the 2020 season? Is this what we're going to see out of him, or was this just a one-time thing you think out of Tamarian?
I hope so. I hope it's kind of a thing where he's broken off all that rust that he might have had, and you see a guy that is your playmaking dude that can take those shots when he's one-on-one easily. He's able to make those contested grabs, which that's the number one thing he did last season, and we were really impressed by him. But tonight he got to show that he is back, and I feel like, I mean, look at him, 146 yards, 9 attempts here, and obviously a touchdown. But it kind of goes still back to quarterback play and how Jordan Travis gets the ball to him. But I really liked his effort. I think there was a few things blocking-wise that he could have helped Jordan Travis out a little bit. There was a few plays where, Florida State could have put up some points, but, they're not kind of used to a guy that's rambling out of the pocket, and he's most likely looking to go for probably 25 yards. I mean, I think it was Jordan Young who missed out on block. But the Tamarian Terry has actually got his thing going, and hopefully you need that because, like I said, North Carolina is going to bring up the points. You're going to need offensive play.
I feel like we've said this before. I feel like I've said this for the last 5-6 years. We've said this the last 2 years with MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. When the hell will the offensive line get better? I've seen an offensive line that literally I feel almost bad for Jordan Travis. I feel bad for Webb. I feel bad for Toafili. I feel bad for Corbin because I feel like these guys are literally running for their lives back there. At what point do we need to stop making excuses for the offensive line? Because to me, it was another game of just pathetic play by that group.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just kind of depends. Obviously,
excuse for that. Right now, you're formulating it in your head. You're formulating an excuse for these guys.
No, we're practically used to it. Maybe I'm just used to it so much. So if I see some kind of maybe half a drive where there's not a mistake or blown block, then I'm like, oh, wow, there's some optimism there. But I don't know. I mean, I do believe in Coach Atkins. Most certainly, you're facing number 5 team in the country. Blah blah blah. But yeah, Jordan Travis had to get out of things. He took shots. Obviously, we saw that at the end of the game. He's hinder in his hand, which I think he's going to be fine. I mean, they threw Blackman in there, but I think he'll be all right. He still has helmet on and blah blah blah. But I think he'll be good to go for North Carolina. But still, the offensive line has always struggled. And the thing is, though, I do think there is some progression levels happening. It's not going to happen overnight, but I do think things are happening. The penalties were probably where I got kind of ticked off about it. I'll be honest, just the silly penalties, but I do think there's some progress. That's not my number one concern coming after this, definitely, because we're about to go to the defensive side of things, but that is not my number one concern. I think things will be fine. And they still got to adjust to a guy that's Jordan Travis, who's guy rolling out, different packages are coming, different scheme is coming. Mike Norvell and Dillingham are building something different than probably what they're used to with Blackman.
We're going to rip on the defense for a good period of time here.
I'm ready. I mean, I'm ready to rock.
One more point on the offensive line. Devontae Love Taylor, who transferred in, was a grad transfer from FIU. I expected more out of him, and maybe just because from what I had seen, obviously covering him down here at FIU, maybe I had seen a little bit more than some of the other people who cover FSU. I expected more out of him. What are your thoughts on him coming in through 4 games, being on that offensive line? Are you happy with his play so far? Disappointed? Are you kind of in the middle? What are your thoughts?
Jason, you're putting me on the spot here with this offensive line. I didn't watch too much with Devontae Love Taylor.
This is what happens when you make me wait to tape this till 12:30 in the morning.
I got to go look back at some film right here. I got to do some homework. I was obviously more kind of in tune with Dante Lucas for more than the thing with me, I mean, I didn't get to see a lot of Love Taylor, so I don't want to comment because I'll probably say something stupid, which, I mean, that's continuously on this show. But yeah. But the things with Dante Lucas, I think he means no harm, but he's just an alpha male that likes getting after it, and he causes kind of some problems. I will say, offensive line wise, this game, I will probably take that when they're facing a number 5 team in South Bend. I know there's not a lot of fans there, blah blah blah, but I will take an offensive line play that happened tonight. Obviously, there's some blown things, and that's going to happen, obviously. But I will take it, and I do think, though, you are starting to see some progression offensively, that line-wise, of consistent, some rhythm that we haven't seen in a long while. And I do believe in Coach Atkins. I think right now, I mean, with how the linebacker court's looking, I think right now the hottest coach on the side of the ball. And I'll be honest, I feel like Atkins, at least right now, is the guy that is going to have, I don't know, the true talent to be able to bring up this unit. And I'm not ready to crap the bed on them yet. I wanted to say the S word, but I don't know if we're allowed to say that yet.
All right, Mark's not here. It's fine. Go ahead. I'm gonna allow one time. You get one word.
Mm-hmm.
Take your sip.
Got it.
Are you gonna say it?
Oh, defense? Are we gonna say defense?
No. You were gonna say word. Shit. There we go. You get your one word. You get one first word for tonight here on the Post Game Show. Speaking of crapping the bed, let's talk about the Florida State defense.
Yes.
554 yards allowed, including, here's my favorite stat of the night, 354 rushing yards allowed, allowing 8.4 yards per carry and 4 rushing touchdowns. Corinne, I don't want to mispronounce his name, but Corinne Williams, the running back for Notre Dame, 19 rushes, 185 yards alone, and 2 touchdowns. And I felt like they ran that damn counter play easily. Most of those rushes were the same damn counter play, and it succeeded. But 554 yards allowed total. Florida State obviously only 411 yards. They did force the 2 turnovers. One of them was obviously on special teams. The other one was on the second play of the game. But Logan, giving up 554 yards. Are you kidding me? I get it. And once again, it's the number 5 team in the country. There was very little chance Florida State was going to go up to South Bend and get the win. So there's no delusions of grandeur. There's no false hope from us on this one. That being said, for us to give up that many yards is unacceptable.
Yeah, no, it's very disappointing. I will say, I think it's more disappointing than anything because, like we said right off the bat, if Florida State had any kind of average defensive play, we'd be sitting here tonight being like, this was a competitive game into the late fourth quarter. This could have possibly, I mean, I don't need to say it's crazy. I mean, this possibly could have been an upset alert because Florida State was, and Mike Norvell and Dillingham were calling a great game, and they were able to find strides with Jordan Travis, Terry, Webb, and they were making plays offensively. But on the defensive side, it was piss poor, and it's time to go ahead. And I talked about it on our show we just did a few minutes ago. Shit, if that's the second one.
That's the second one. You did apologize.
I will apologize to Mark. I will. But why do you even have a linebacker group right now? Why do you even have it? And I mean, why do you even have a defensive line group? Because they haven't shown up all season. But there was no linebackers there. I mean, did I see goes like what was happening? I'd rather have 6-7 defensive linemen on the field helping them more than, I mean, you just didn't have any linebacker group. And it's a bad look. Obviously, we go look at the number one guy who was supposed to be the star. He was supposed to be one of the biggest leaders on the team this season. You look at number 21 with Marvin Wilson and you say, you came back this season to rise your stock into the first round, but let's take a moment. It's declined. Are we going to end that? Are you segmenting me into things?
No, let's. You know what? We will go into that right now.
Let's start from.
Let's give a shout out to our viewers here who are coming in here. A lot of the Miami viewers. Dennis Wilson, who's a normal Miami viewer, he's a little upset. Did something happen in the Miami Clemson game? I didn't watch that game because I knew Clemson was going to kill them, so I didn't watch that game. So I don't know what happened there in South Carolina. But I'm just going to give you one. You talked about linebackers. Your boy, Amari Gaynor, fellow Childs High, Timberwolf, he led the Seminoles in tackles in the game there. He played his role at linebacker. Emmett Rice was the normal Emmett Rice we're used to so far in the first 4 years in Tallahassee. Let's give a shout-out to, while Tamari and Terry showed up tonight, Marvin Wilson also had a big night. Marvin Wilson, all I heard Mike Rico talk about was how he is going to be a first-round draft pick, how all the experts say he's going to be a first-round draft pick. And you know what? He lived up to his first-round draft pick potential by having one tackle. Un tackle. But you know what? Let's give him credit because he wasn't the only Seminole who had one tackle. Let's take a look at some of the other guys who had one tackle for the Seminoles. Parker Grothaus, the kicking specialist, had un tackle. Devontae Love Taylor, an offensive lineman, had un tackle. So this is what Marvin Wilson did. Can we officially call his return a failure? Because I once again, I understand why he came back. He came back to his degree. He's been doing great stuff. I agree with everything he's doing off the field with his social injustice causes. I agree with everything he has said. I agree with him calling out Mike Norvell when he did that, and I support him for all that. I don't support him for having the same number of tackles against Notre Dame as our kicking specialist and an offensive tackle. Your thoughts, Logan?
What do you say, Parker Grothaus? Did anybody in the chat? Does anybody know who that is? Can you tell them, Jason, who that is?
He is the kicking specialist. He is number 37. He's the man who kicks off. So yes, on a kickoff, he got a tackle.
He had a big tackle. That was a good tackle. He saved a touchdown from happening. He saved a touchdown from happening.
But go ahead. Go ahead and be positive here for this one. Go ahead. I'm gonna take you full screen. Go ahead, buddy.
I'm trying to be safe. And I need to be smart because things go on social media, and I need to watch my mouth, and I need to be smart about this. But I'm pretty sure I came on here with you, Jason, a few weeks ago and told you that an offensive lineman had more or just like 2 less tackles than Marvin Wilson during a game. A special teams member had 2 less tackles than Marvin Wilson, which is saying a lot. I mean, Marvin Wilson should be having double that. But yeah, this has been downright probably looking like a bad decision on his part. Marvin Wilson would be in the league right now, probably close to starting for a team. But it's just no plays happening under 21 guys. We look at also Durden too. It's good to see Robert Cooper back, but I don't really remember him playing tonight. We heard all this hula, blah, blah, blah about number 13. But what? One pressure tonight. We look at Janarius Robinson. I mean, I just don't want to say anything too crazy. I don't want to say anything too crazy. I'm being smart. I haven't drank enough to say anything really stupid here. But the defensive line has been so pitiful. It's unbelievable, and it's time to get a change. And I hate to say it, but it's time to get a change for a coach there. Love you, Odell. I love you, man. I know Sean Bay Jackson just committed, blah, blah, blah. We got to make a change.
I'm not saying that.
Change. It's about as obvious as it gets now. It's time to make a change. I said it. Time to move on. I love you, Odell. He is Seminole blood. He's going to have his speeches in the locker room. Seminole, love Seminole. Let's get it. But the thing is, that defensive line play is piss poor. Ian Book had all the time in the world. And whenever you're able to pressure, you could tell whenever you're able to pressure Ian Book, he's going to make a little sloppy mistakes. He's not as accurate as a quarterback as Florida State has played in the past. If you're able to give him just a little bit of pressure, this game would have been a little bit closer. But once again, the defensive line doesn't show up. And I'm about tired of even talking about it because right now, all we can really talk about is the defensive back unit for defense. That's all Florida State's defense has.
Let's be honest about it. This is not a new defensive problem. This has been a defensive problem dating back, I would argue, to the 2016 season, starting with that blowout loss to Louisville, followed by that wild shootout with North Carolina. And that starts, to me, it goes back to the fundamentals. And we've got guys in here. Patrick Beck talks about mandatory Oklahoma drills every practice for the rest of the season starting Monday. It wouldn't be the worst idea in the world because literally you're watching Florida State do nothing but arm tackling the entire time. Florida State is literally just doing this, just reaching out with their arms, going, "Hey, we're gonna clothesline you. Yeah, we're gonna bring you down. Yeah, ooh, DBU, we're awesome." That's literally what it felt like watching them. And that stuff might work against Jacksonville State. That stuff might work against Duke later in the season. That stuff's not going to work against Notre Dame. It's not going to work next week against North Carolina. It damn sure didn't work against Miami. So, let's talk about the defensive backs there. Asante Samuel, he's having a better season so far than he's had the first couple seasons. Tonight, though, I feel like he took a step back. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, just a little bit. I think this was his rougher game than he's obviously had this whole season. He had good plays, most certainly in the first part of the game, but he had some mishaps. I'd like to go look back at the pass interference call, or was it pass interference, or it wasn't a pass interference call. It should have been offensive pass interference, unless I'm seeing something differently. But where he let that guy go down there and have a deep shot for Book. But yeah, not a great game from Samuel Jr. And it kind of is what it is. I mean, we've seen PJ Williams and Darby have the same thing. I mean, obviously every game it can be phenomenal, but Sunday Samuel Jr. And the thing with him, he's still got that dog mentality and he's ready to fight. He's got that fierce kind of personality, which you have to want on this defense, because right now you'd kill to have any kind of that, because they're getting, I was about to say something worse, but they're getting shafted. They're getting shafted. The defensive side of the ball is getting shafted, but you got to have somebody that's still there that has that dog mentality. And Asante has that, but like you said, Jason, not a phenomenal game from him. I'm not going to give him any excuses, and he doesn't want excuses too, because I know he has that mentality, but and I think he'll bounce back. But I do think that was offensive pass interference on that Notre Dame wide receiver. I will say it.
But you're not going to get those calls. You're not. If Florida State was a ranked team, if Florida State didn't get blown up by Miami, if Florida State came in 2-1 instead of 1-2, maybe Florida State might get a few more benefits of the doubt. That's not going to happen in this case. This is a Florida, and I think that's where a lot of fans need to realize it. We're not going to be the Florida State team to get a lot of the benefits we got in 2013, 2014, 2015. So we are who we are at this point. And right now we are a 1-3 team. Returns home next week. The first appearance of Jay Peasy in Tallahassee. I'll be up there to watch Florida State hopefully not embarrass ourselves against North Carolina. And then Florida State hosts North Carolina, then goes on the road to Louisville before the bye week on Halloween.
Wait. I'm not done with the linebacker unit. We skipped the linebacker.
All right. Then I'm going to put a timeout on the future schedule. And now Logan Robinson's drunken rampage against the linebacker unit of Florida State.
Oh, yeah. You got me now. We're about to kill the rest of this beer. Here's the deal.
Okay. You have the next 2 minutes to rage on the linebackers. Go.
Just like a presidential debate, I get my 2 minutes. No interruptions from Jason.
Go. Ready, set, go.
Number 35. We have 35 viewers watching right now live too, but number 35 and number 1. We got to move on. I mean, I hate to say it because I was really high on Emmett Rice starting the season. He's packed on some pounds. He ended up being a really big locker room guy, vocal wise. I don't really understand. It was kind of a shock to see 35 in there right off the bat in the season anyways. That was kind of a shock to me with Leonard Warner, but I probably will not be shocked if you don't see a lot of 35 to start off with, and then you start seeing a lot more rotation between 1, and then you switch him in with 32. We saw that tonight. 32, we also got to see a lot of Lundy in there, but those are experienced guys. We're talking about experienced players that just can't find a way to tackle guys. And that's piss poor performance. You got to move on. I understand if you throw in young linebackers in there, there's going to be mistakes here and there. But I'd rather take those and let those guys get the experience now than later. And Chris Marv's got a hard road ahead coaching these guys because it's just been piss poor performance, and it doesn't help the defensive line whatsoever because right whenever obviously Notre Dame's going to run the ball, it's a wide open gap, and you have defensive backs that are having to make the plays. The linebackers are nowhere to be seen. I mean, anybody in the chat, anybody listening right now, did you ever see a linebacker ready for a linebacker or for a running back to come up the middle? Hell no, you weren't. You weren't going to see a linebacker there, and you already knew that. If the offensive line for Notre Dame was going to be able to hold open a hole, you weren't expecting a Florida State linebacker to come in and grab that running back and have a tackle for loss or even just not have any gain or maybe hold them to 2 yards. The linebacker unit is having a really rough performance, and we'll see moving forward. But I've got to throw more younger guys in there.
You just went Trump. You went over your time. So you know.
No.
You trumped it. I didn't bind you. I didn't tell you to shut up. So
yeah. What did Biden say?
I thought about it. Will you shut up, man? I thought about it, but I didn't.
You should have.
I thought about it. So back to what I was saying there before.
Give me your take on the linebackers.
I've said this now. We talked about this last year during the famous era of Dontavius Jackson and his leadership at linebacker. Is that we don't have 3 linebackers. Tell me who our 3 linebackers would be right now. I mean, Gaynor showed up today, and I think he's shown up most. Emmett Rice, I'd love for him to, because I've watched him play high school football down here. I'd love for him to do well, but right now he has not lived up to any. And who else are you going to trust to be a third one? Steven Dix, who got hurt. Leonard Warner has not showed up.
Has he shown up throughout his career?
I know he has shown up to actually get there, but that's where we're at right now. So we are now in a position where we have 2 more games before our bye week. We have North Carolina, who acted like it was basketball season already in their game, beating Virginia Tech today 56-45. And then Louisville, who has kind of gone off the deep end. And seemingly after getting blown out on Friday night by Georgia Tech, they got blown out by Miami a few weeks ago. So, Logan, be the bastion of positivity for us here. Surely Florida State can be 3-3 entering the bye week, right?
Possibly.
Right?
Offensively wise.
Convince me Florida State can legitimately be 3-3.
You know what? From here on out, and I'm going to start this. We're going to make it a trend. Starting right now at 106 on October 11th, that's no longer Florida State. We're talking Florida State offense, because we're not going to talk about the defense because we haven't seen that happen yet. Right now, all Florida State has is an offense, and that's what I have to go off of. When I was watching the Notre Dame game tonight, I knew when Notre Dame was going to get the ball. That's 7 points. I mean, that was about as easy as it gets. Notre Dame missed a field goal, blah, blah, blah. But I just knew Notre Dame was about to score a touchdown. But moving forward, yeah, Florida State should be able to compete in this as long as they're putting points up on the board. Yeah, I do like the way Jordan Travis played tonight. And I do like Webb. I do think Mike Norvell and Kenny Dillingham are getting something going here. That's the optimistic side of me. And I think things are going to get going. I just can't trust the defense, Jason. I just can't. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens Saturday. Actually, we had Carlos Williams on for our Instant Reaction podcast, and he told me,
Wow, name drop.
An upset. Carlos called an upset against North Carolina. He says since Notre Dame or North Carolina's defense was kind of piss poor today against Virginia Tech, that Florida State actually has a chance to upset them in Doak Campbell Stadium on Saturday. So I'm excited to be there for that game. Sam Howell is going to be there. Maybe this will wake up the defensive line for Florida State. Obviously, Sam Howell being a previous Florida State quarterback commit, and obviously switched and flipped to North Carolina. But, maybe this will wake up the defensive line. But I'm not going to even say that. This is Florida State offense versus North Carolina and Doak next weekend. I'm excited for it. I think it's a good storyline. A lot of good storylines going into it.
I think we'll talk more about that starting Tuesday with MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. All right, Logan, you're sitting there. You're on your 12th beer, 13th beer?
It's probably like 8th, 9th, yeah.
Ooh, wow, you're slacking there. All right, so you're going to step up. All right, so give the people here. We've been doing this now for 32 minutes. We're rounding third. We're heading for home. It was a bad day. It was a bad day for all the teams in the state of Florida. We lost. Miami got smoked. Florida lost to Texas A&M. Shout out to Jimbo Fisher for finally doing something right out in College Station. Hell, even FIU lost. USF lost. All the Florida FBS teams lost today. So here, Logan, be the bastion of positivity. Tell us why better days are ahead.
Hold up now, Jason. We need to talk about this. What happened in Death Valley tonight? Can someone in the chat? Can anybody in the chat? Because I know there's a few of them in here. They always linger here, no matter what. How did
Logan? Okay. You know that I'm a liberal. You know that I'm a very liberal person politically. You know who I'm voting for. But I'm going to channel what the First Lady said. Be better. We need to be better than that. Their fans are trash. Their fans are useless. You will soon have a degree from Florida State. I have a degree from Florida State. They can't find their school. Let them have their moment of acting like the U was back. The U got proven it wasn't back. We are better than them. Be better. Okay?
Okay. We'll talk. We'll go more into, because I know Jason will unleash on Tuesday night. But
I don't know what you're talking about. I will not mention at all that they got shown that they are no better than a community college. That's fine. I will not mention them at all today. I will not mention on Tuesday how Clemson dog stomped the hell out of them. That's fine. I will not talk about at all how they proved that they will probably lose 3 more games in the regular season. So for you, give us the positivity.
All right.
Why better days are ahead.
Okay, so I do feel like most certainly coming off from this game, and I think a lot of fans are too, that there is positives offensively. That's mainly what you can take of it. I think there is a good amount of playmakers on the defensive side. We're looking at Gaynor. I'm excited to hopefully have Travis J back. I obviously really want to have Hampson Nasruddin back, but, we got to wait and see what's going on with his situation. But if Florida State can rise and actually have an average defensive play, Florida State can compete with some teams, man. And I think Mike Norvell and Dillingham coached their best game of the season. And it's good to see that because I think a lot of fans maybe were kind of swaying with Mike Norvell and if this is the right coach, blah, blah, blah. But like obviously Fisher said, but you got to kind of trust the process and actually have a few games for them to go off of. And they have a starting quarterback that is going to make plays. And this is huge for Florida State. It's something that we haven't seen since, I mean, we're looking maybe early years of not Jordan Drive, but we're looking at DeAndre Francois. But this quarterback is able to manage drives. He fights for first downs. If Tamarron Terry can get kicking, he's good to go. You're looking at Ontario Wilson, who's fast as hell. You're looking at LaDamian Webb, who's ready. You're looking at Tua Philly, who is a pure running back. Even Corbin's back there. You got a nice, stable running back group, and you have Jordan Travis. I think there's a lot of optimism for this offense. Mike Norvell knows how to coach, but I'll be honest, Florida State has to figure something out on defense. And I don't know what has to happen. I don't know if there needs to be coaching changes. I don't like saying that so early in the season whatsoever, which I'm still not going to say it. But I look a lot at Adam Fuller tonight, and you knew Notre Dame was going to run the ball down your throat. You knew that. We talked about it 20 times on here when we were previewing the game. Notre Dame is going to run the ball. There was no execution tonight. And for Adam Fuller on that defense. Moving forward, if they're able to make changes on defense and put the guys where they're willing to fight and actually make plays, then boom, there's actually a competitive team here in Florida State. And another thing too, Florida State didn't stop fighting tonight, and that's something that I looked forward to watching. I know James talked about it. What was it, yesterday? We were previewing the game. I want to see some fight. I want to see some competitive edge, and that offense kept on fighting. Obviously, Jordan Travis threw an interception there late in the game. But, this was still a 2-possession game with a number 5 ranked team in the country. And I think there's a lot of optimism and a lot of positives to take from this game.
I'm going to end our special post-game edition here with just this little point here. Reasonably well. But can we get Mark back? Who are these two yahoos? Obviously, acting like we don't know college football. But then this is also the same person who put the following quote up here a few comments before. He asked about Death Valley, not Miami. Where do you think Miami played Clemson at, sir? So just time to go back to bed. Time to go to sleep. You guys beat Ole Miss. Congratulations. Your defense also sucks.
I was going to say. Alabama's defense looked like Florida State's today. So,
and that's not a compliment there.
Not at all a compliment. No, not whatsoever. What about you? What is your final takeaways from that? Is there any optimisms? Because I know you're more of the negative Nancy than I am. Is there any positive takeaway?
First of all, it's Ricky Realist. Get it right.
Ricky Realist.
It frustrates me that we can play like a team that wants to play with the number 5 team in the country against Notre Dame, but then we're a team that can barely put 13 points up against Georgia Tech. We're a team that can come down here and get smoked 52-10 to a Miami team that turned around and got blown out by Clemson. I'm not saying we should have beat Miami, but if we play like we played tonight, we don't lose 52-10 to Clemson. Or excuse me, 52-10 to Miami. If we play like we played tonight, we beat Georgia Tech. That's what's frustrating me, and that's what's been frustrating me about Florida State football from the last year of the Jimbo Fisher era to the Willie Taggart 21 games to the Odell Hagen's 2 seasons of interim coaching to what we've seen so far. It's the frustration of the inconsistency with Florida State football.
Well, I will say, though, and this is going to be the whole year, is that you're going to have to see the growing steps in this because obviously the Miami game was dreadful to watch. That was terrible. But I am proud of the guys for, obviously you can think about that game, but they were showing up against Notre Dame tonight and they were competing hard. And this was a game. I mean, it still was a 2-possession game, but you're seeing guys still fighting for plays. Definitely offensively, defense is trying everything they can get, but there is some progression that I think that guys aren't giving up on the season, which I think in 2018, you kind of saw it in 2019 a little bit, but guys were kind of just giving up on the season and that was it, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to talk about Mike Norvell and the whole Willie Taggart and that whole thing, but I think you're seeing some progression in this team culture-wise and wanting to battle it out and fight. And I mean, that's a good thing. And I do think, though, if you see where Cam McDonald catches that touchdown, if Jordan Travis is able to hit him, that this is a close game. And I don't know, I'm just seeing a lot more fight and some competitive drive than I've seen the last couple of years, Jason. And we didn't see it obviously against Miami, but I just think it's good. I mean, they go to South Bend, and obviously it's 42-26. It looks a little bit different, but this was kind of a game for the most part if that defense was able to play a little bit.
John, don't worry. On Tuesday, I'll talk about the only undefeated head coach of an FBS program in the state of Florida, Willie Taggart, for the 1-0 FAU Owls. We got some Owls up in here. We will talk about them more on Tuesday if they actually play more than one game this season, depending on all their COVID stuff up in Boca Raton. Logan, it's been fun. Hopefully we can do one of these post games one time after a win. That would be a lot more fun.
I agree. Yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice, 50 people on the line. Definitely appreciate everybody coming here and listening to us at 1:30 in the morning. It's not as late as that Miami game, but it's close to it. But definitely appreciate everybody listening. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on here. Even if you're an Alabama fan in here that don't even know who we are, definitely still appreciate you coming here and giving us a view. Still gave us a view.
Don't know what Death Valley is or that Clemson Stadium is called Death Valley, obviously, but you know your football. Roll Tide, roll.
Roll Tide, roll. Jason's ticked off. You ticked off, Jason. Don't tick off, Jason.
It's just there are two things that bother me with the viewers: stupidity and people who don't use proper English. Just do that. If you want to tell me I'm suck, that's fine. But just write suck, S-U-C-K.
Just say it with good, just say it with good grammar for Jason. And
that's all I'm asking. Proper grammar. That's all I'm asking that one. And
because pull it up. Here we go. He said something else, Jason. Let's see.
You two are so embarrassing. It's painful. I wouldn't call it embarrassing. I get the painful part, but I mean, I wouldn't call it embarrassing. I think Logan.
The $1 million ban.
Death Valley is in Baton Rouge, and you still haven't figured it out. Death Valley is also in Clemson. They are both called Death Valley. I get it. No, you know what? Reasonable Gump is one of these SEC bias. SEC is the greatest thing in the world. SEC is better. It's literally the creation of sliced bread and the SEC are the two greatest things in the world to Reasonable Gump. So you know what? We're going to let him have his moment. Big win over Ole Miss. Your defense sucks.
We even have Luke Walker in here supporting us. He's our regular listener in here. He's even supporting us. So that's saying something. Obviously, Reasonable Gump came in. He's a rookie. He's new to the show. Death Valley is also in South Carolina. Just to let you know, I know it's shocking, but I know he also probably hates Clemson because they won a national championship over them. So that's understandable to kind of be ticked off on here. But yeah, definitely appreciate you giving us a view and listening in. But also Marching Chiefs over, I don't even know what the Alabama band is. Is that all they're called? Is the Alabama band? I mean, what? What's going on?
The $1 million band, I believe is what they're called in Alabama.
$1 million band. Huh. Now that's the first time I've ever heard about them. That's the first time. Sorry. I hate to say it, but I'm literally, that's it. I've never heard the $1 million band.
When we've officially started talking about marching bands is the time where I'm going to tell you all this Tuesday, we'll talk about Florida State, North Carolina. Can Florida State pull off the upset win? Can North Carolina come down and do like they did in 2016 and piss us all off? We will find out. We'll talk about it with myself, Logan Robinson from Noel Game Day, MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. He'll be back. James Coleman, he might be back. He might not. It depends on if he can turn his phone on in time. We'll find out. Find out all these questions and more this Tuesday on MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football.